Good morning. Are we ready? Are we ready to see what's going on with the energy this coming week into June? I have to tell you, the reading last week really did a number on me. The channeling was really hard on my human part of what we're doing here. And so I've been talking with my team about how, if I'm going to keep doing this every week, how am I going to manage the spiritual energy, the psychic energy, and my human body, which isn't used to getting that much of a blast from spirit. And to give you an idea of what I experience after I channel, I get cold. That's always the case when I astral travel. And I just feel... I would say kind of a malaise for being here in the human plane, which is not great for living this life that we all live. And get my autofocus on. And so to compound that, we had 3 days of rain over Memorial Weekend, which was really not great. And so we wound up being inside the whole time, and it was great. We played puzzles and board games, but it took me to about Wednesday of this week. I'm recording this on Friday, May the 30th. And so I've done a couple of things, and I want to share them with you because I know a lot of you are Clair-Intuitives, and that you are growing along with me on this journey. And frankly, that's one of the reasons I'm here, to encourage you and to share what I'm going through and what I'm getting so that you can have your own experience with your spirit team. So one thing I'm doing this week is I'm having no expectations. So in the past, I would get and I did this week, I got messages through the week that I would think, oh, that's relevant to the reading. I'm not doing that this week. I'm going in totally cold. I'm not going to put anything onto this reading except what shows up in the cards. So that feels good to me. It feels like a good energy container. And I think it'll help me not to leak off my energy with kind of an anxiety or a focus about what the cards are going to say. So I'm going to try that. And then I was reading, and apparently having calcite helps to ground you when you're channeling. So I have this gorgeous calcite. I think it's watermelon calcite, my friend. Oh, and it matches it's like we planned it. We didn't, I promise. So I'm going to have calcite kind of under my knees particularly as I'm channeling. And then I always have this, but I thought I would show it to you. I think this is called Super 7. I'm not great at crystals, and I know this is labradorite, but I always have these close at hand, and they feel like earth anchors, keeping me kind of anchored in the here and now. So, and then I also have this very cool... I'll show that to you. Stone from Norway that I just love. I just love it. I don't know what it does or what's special about it, but I really just love it. So that's what I'm doing to prepare this week. And I didn't say, but I'm Susannah. If you're new here, welcome. We're going to do an energy reading on the first part of June in the United States. And I get messages clairvoyantly, cognitively, and clairsentiently. And last week we got a whopper of a reading, as I was just alluding to. Pretty much a transformational event, and the channeling was particularly deep and frankly prophetic. It felt beyond me, and I had a bit of a hard time. I still have a hard time. I actually listened to that reading, my own reading, many times over, trying to parse out whether there was any of my human in it, and I didn't find any. So that's it was pretty deep. If you want to go back and watch that, it'll be the previous one. But we got cards for a pretty big transformational event coming, and it felt like it was in the earth core, like a tsunami, an earthquake, or from the astral realms, sun's flares, sunspots, something with satellites, communications going down. So I'm not the only Clair-Intuitive who is picked up on big events coming, and I just want to encourage you that my guides have always said we're going to be fine. But yeah, so last week kind of rocked me, and I want to thank the people that showed up and commented and supported me. It really meant a lot to me this week, and it means a lot to me every week. So I just want to say thank you for responding in the loving and encouraging and sharing what you're getting from the cards. So, all right, let's get to it. So, I'm using the Amanda Ellis Oracle with Jane Della Taylor's illustrations, which are beautiful. And I always put my cards from the previous week into the deck because we often get the same cards, which my guides say is no big deal. All right, God Source. I've already done my prayers off camera. God Source. With a completely blank slate, I want to lift my energy to you, my highest source, my highest angels, for a message of encouragement and truth about what is coming in the United States spiritually, last spiritually first, in the first week of June and into June. What is coming for us in the beginning of June spiritually? Oop, there we go. Wisdom Bringer, Earth School. This is the other soul contract card. So I am not going to express any heavy sighs about this card. They've actually gotten on to me about that. This is a good thing. We came here to learn our lessons, and apparently in the first part of June, we're going to be confronted with those relational contracts that we've made, the things that we wanted to learn when we came to Earth. And that's going to be in the spiritual sense. So let me see what else they can give me on this. Wisdom Bringer. There's also an astro element to this card. If you can see the stars behind it. Get my autofocus to come on. Yeah. No joke, this feels encouraging to me. Like maybe we've learned our lesson enough, whatever it is, that we can have a moment of pause and reflection and say, wow, I've come a ways. I'm not responding the same way I always do, and that feels really good to me. Life lessons are always really challenging. But this feels, rather than this being a point of disappointment or frustration or anger and resentment about something that constantly trips us up, this feels like we're going to have they're showing me a bicycle and taking the tricycles off, and that kind of first little wobbly push off on a bike. So this feels like we're going to get a sense of having and they're showing me one of those elementary journals, like the old school handwriting journals, and closing it and putting it away. So this is great. This feels like we're in June, in this first part of June particularly, we're going to feel a bit of accomplishment about the spiritual lessons that we've accomplished. That's cool. All right. God source, how about the emotional sphere? How are we going to be feeling emotionally? The thing that we unconsciously often carry with us. Wow, James and Mary Magdalene. We got this last week. Jesus, sorry, not James. Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Can you see it? Isn't that beautiful? Shared mission. Jesus and Mary Magdalene. In the emotional sense. And there are those geese again. Those of you who have been watching my readings, there they are, up in the corner. See them right there? Yep. God source, what do you want to share? I'm just being drawn to how Mary Magdalene is leaning back on Jesus, and they have their arms, like there's a feeling of being not alone, being sheltered and comforted, and being able to lean safely against your trusted allies and your trusted loved ones and your inner circle, that they're going to literally have your back. They're going to have your back. And again, this feels kind of like a carryover, and I'm getting chills on that. Like the thing that has tripped us up, not only are we going to recognize it, but we're going to handle it. And we may not, handle it great, but we're going to handle it markedly better, they're saying. Better is a bad word, but markedly different. And that's going to feel good to us. And when we look around to our inner circle, they're going to have our back and say, yeah, you did really well with that. That feels really good. These cards feel really good. Thank you, God Source. I know you didn't change the whole energy of the world just for little old me, but this is a nice relief from last week. And okay, so let's see, that was emotionally. So now we're looking for mentally. What is going to be going on in our spheres? And they're telling me not to ask just about the United States. So mentally for the world, what is going to be going on in our world space, and actually the whole reading. I don't want to limit it. So for the whole world, what is going on mentally for us next week? Whoop. Grace. Oh my gosh, this is the same. Wow, okay. That confused me for a minute. There it is, grace and goodwill. Okay. It's the same as the back of the card. So this is the card that the artist, Miss Del Taylor, chose for the deck. Mentally. Okay. And I'm literally just realizing this, even though I've been working with this deck for several months, that there's a beehive on this deck, and there's a little bee, and the blessings and the goodwill. It's it's a harvest. It's a having enough stores, abundance. This feels like an abundance card. Grace, blessings, and goodwill. Yeah. So I don't know if you can see the bee on the flower right in the middle. And then it's like the pollen is going down to the little honeycomb. What do you get from that card? all you Clair-Intuitives out there, what do you get from this card? This is a beautiful card. And in a lot of ways, it's counter to what's in the news, because we've been worried about supply chains. We've been worried about the economy crashing. We have been worried about the current administration trampling on our democracy. This card is a card of rest. This is a card of the bee is not going to have to go far to find the pollen to bring back to the hive. The bee is in a, oh, right. The bee has a colony. This is a card of community too. The bee has its place of community and purpose mentally. And so they're just showing me a door opening. And so you may, all these weeks we've been talking about finding your community. And they're reminding me of what I'm doing. Every year I volunteer in June in my community for something I do to support my little local community. And that's just started. I've had a couple of nights of that. And it's such a blessing to just get out and to give your knowledge. In this case, I teach swimming. I just volunteer my time to little guys, and it's such a rewarding experience. It's exhausting, but the joy on the kids' faces, the happiness of the parents to know their kids are learning a valuable life skill, it really can't be discounted. And so this week, as you have those opportunities, or as someone asks you to come along to a community event, be safe, right? Some of us, I should say, can walk in the world without being as concerned about the horrible racism and things, and so be safe. And women in particular, we have to make good choices, but look for the opportunities to give back in your community and to fill up your tank with the good of giving. It says blessings and goodwill. That feels positive, even though we have to be careful. It feels very positive. All right. And then let's see. That was mentally, physically. All right. What are we going to be experiencing in this first part of June physically? God source. Physically. Oops. Peter. Denial and weakness. Peter, denial and weakness. Okay, I always say I was raised in a Christian tradition, but I've long, however you find your God, whatever you call what is divine in you, I love that. But this card is based on a Christian story about Peter. And Peter was the fiery disciple. He was the one that was always causing problems with the other disciples. He was fractious. And whenever I think of Peter, I think of like a redhead firebrand. And so before, when Jesus knew he was dying in the Bible, he told his disciples, and Peter said, I will never leave you. I will never deny you. I will never leave you. And after he died, and there was that feeling in the community of persecuting those that were followers of him. Before the rooster crowed 3 times, which was the prophecy, Peter had denied knowing Jesus and being a Christian. And they say that devastated him, like that knowing about himself, that he had been weak in that moment when he thought he was strong. Denial and weakness. And so God source, mentally or physically, what do you want us to know? Actually, this feels kind of relative to our political space, that and how does that relate to the story of Peter? Wow. Okay, so I'm really being drawn to his hand. Let me show you. Can you see his hand? See his hand there? Okay, but look at it for yourself. What do you see here? I mean, I'll tell you what I see. Okay. Okay. I'm being drawn to the lines in his hand and the idea of palmistry, I think it's called, where they can read your future in your hands. And the question of the okay, let me get it straight from them. So it's a metaphor. So the lines of his hand, which in some senses will predict a future for a human. Hang with me. This is kind of complicated. And in Peter's life, his future was predicted by Jesus, and he denied it. He said, "I'll never leave you behind." And then he did. So this is speaking to this idea of, what is the word? Predestination. Predestination is what they're saying. This is speaking to this idea of predestination and free will, and the fact that our leaders right now are reading from a script that they very much believe in, and it may or may not be truth that they're saying. We're in a post-truth world, and that they are going to be confronted with the fact that what they believe to be true about their futures in almost a predestined way, like with a certitude of this is absolutely what is going to happen, is going to run up against reality, or it's going to run up against another timeline. And so this this feels like this can be true for our administration, which I'm no fan of, in terms of denial and weakness. Like, they really believe, like, I'm just getting the sense of them. It's that saying, I can kill someone on Fifth Avenue and nobody would hold me accountable. Like, that sense of confidence about their lives is going to be faced with a mirror that shows their real truth, and they're giving me Dorian Gray. So I just have to say, I think this coming into a reading totally blank is very helpful, because I'm getting all of these new claircog information, and in a greater way than I normally do, maybe because I am predestining some of what's going to happen in the reading based on what I've come through the week. So this is a real learning point for me, and I want to thank my team for showing up for me this way. So I hope that makes sense. I'm not sure. That's the other part about kind of letting spirit run the show more. So, all right, let me wrap this up. So physically, twofold. In our political spaces, and they're saying not just the US, in the world, those who have used their power in a way and exerted their power with a sense of no consequences, that their life path was predestined is the wrong word, but with that sense of entitlement, with that sense of I'm going to get away with everything, are going to be confronted with denial and weakness, where they are grappling with the truth of a reality that they have not been willing to accept. And that's going to be very hard on them. And some of them, before the rooster crows, will be separating themselves and denying. I can think of several people in the political sense that this could apply to. The one who likes to wear a shirt that says tech support or Occupy Mars, you know who I'm talking about, is already separating, and that they're going to continue to do that. Okay, and so what does that mean for the normal, those of us normal people walking on earth? Denial and weakness. And I think this speaks to the extremes in our political sphere, and this, they really want to talk about post-truth. I guess we'll get into that in the channeling. This idea that it's so hard to know what the truth is right now, and some of the sources that we've believed in may have been skewed, and they're just showing me headlines like on YouTube. A headline will say, the clown show continues, for example, and then you watch it and it's not that at all. And so there's a sense of what is true, and us internally needing to use our discernment to pick up where the lines on our hands lie. What is our life path? So, yeah. I hope that made sense. So, all right. So, we have feeling a sense of accomplishment around our soul contracts, being able to rely on our inner circle, abundance, and having plenty of honey and resources in our larders, they're saying. And not feeling, there's more than that. It's a lack of fear, which is great. And then the denial and weakness, and this reckoning. This feels like a reckoning in ourselves and with our leaders for what we've believed to be reality and truth, and what the real reality and truth is. And this may be related to this Earth event that we see coming. So I'm going to ask about that too. Okay, so that's the week ahead. That's pretty, it's a nice breath of fresh air. And yeah, okay. Want to ask specifically about this idea of Earth events, and I really want to ask about the West Coast. And there have been volcanoes erupting in Hawaii, and something going on with the tectonic plates off the coast of California, particularly off the northern coast of California into, is that Vancouver? I should know. I don't know. The little province of Canada. And I'm wondering how and when these Earth events are going to happen, and if it's going to have a big impact on those people that live on the West Coast. So it has felt like earthquakey to me, and I'm in the Missouri Ozarks, and so we are right next to the New Madrid Fault. And if you don't know what the New Madrid Fault is, it's a place where the earth doesn't quite line up, right around what we call the boot heel of Missouri, and that is Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky. They're all right in that area. And if that happens, and when it happened before, they reminded me the Mississippi River flowed backwards, and It was epic, and people died, and it feels like a heartbeat to me underneath there, like and our soil and our land in this area is cavernous. It's limestone, it's cavernous, it is porous. For example, all this rain, we could be in a drought in 2 weeks because the water doesn't hold, or the land doesn't hold the water, it lets it seep through. And so this idea of porousness they're showing me is a sponge. It's like a sponge. And so how does that relate? And as I go along the Nemadrid Fault, then we hit the really dry, arid areas, and it stops, and then we get to the coast, and it starts again. And so, to me, it feels like we have these two kind of seismic vibrations, and then we've got in the sky, in the universe, we have something else. And I'm just wondering what, without any assumptions, tell me, God Source, tell the people watching what is going to happen specifically in the month of June on our west coast. And let's look at the north first, the north area, Washington State, the area on the water. I think they wanted that card. All right, bring me that card back if you want me to have that card. Washington State. Oops. Fellowship coming together. Okay. All right. There it is. Yeah, I'm sorry to say this feels like something is going to happen up there. But it's not catastrophic. So the young boy, I'm really being drawn to the young boy on the side. And he looks like he's been through it. When I lean into him, he looks like he's had a hard time of it. So I'm gonna say something is gonna happen, but it's not life-threatening. It's not. It's just people band together, help each other, and it doesn't feels like there could be some destruction to land, but that people are going to be okay. Yeah, that's a pretty bold prediction. So if you're in Washington State and that Northern California area, water, tsunamis, earthquakes, mudslides, rain, flooding may be coming in June, but it's gonna be okay. And it just, maybe for those people who are in that area, maybe this is normal for this time of the year. It doesn't feel hugely catastrophic to me. Business as usual. It just feels like, kind of, for the people in that area, this is something that they're kind of used to. It may be an escalation. Enough that people are coming to a community center and sharing food and helping each other. and some property destruction, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. All right. And let me know in the comments if that's totally normal. And somebody did post, I want to say, that they checked with their local water source, their municipal water source, and they have backup generators. So that's fantastic. We don't have that in the Ozarks, so I'm thrilled about that. All right. Let's ask about Southern California, like the more arid area. And they're just drawing me over to Arizona too. Arizona, Nevada, even northern Mexico, like that area. Oh, is it hurricane season? I'm getting chills on that. I don't think that would be Southern California. Okay, we'll check on hurricanes in a minute. Let's just focus on Southern California. Do they have hurricanes in northern Mexico and Southern California? All right. Weather-related events, seismic events, astral events. Tell us about Southern California in the month of June. Something from the heart, soften and open. This is what I mean about getting the same cards. This is my card for the supply chains. This is my card for supply chain problems. And I think I read that Gavin Newsom said that they're not getting the containers they should get. We're not having supply chain problems here in the Midwest. All right, how does this relate to seismic, astral? They keep talking about hurricanes, so I don't know if I'm interpreting that right, but it feels like water disrupting boats even more. And show me what you want to tell people. Broken supply chains. Yeah. So for my West Coast folks, you may have a bit of a weather related issue in June. Doesn't feel catastrophic. So, all right, let's check on hurricanes. I'm not sure hurricanes are already in the... I know about tornadoes and flooding. I don't know about hurricanes and earthquakes. Okay, God source, why did you bring up hurricanes? Tsunamis. Okay. Spiritual protection, the armor of God. Yeah. It feels like a very active hurricane. I'm really being drawn to the shield. See the shield there? Right there. Almost like battening down the hatches, like putting those boards over windows and things. This feels like it's... Yeah. All right, there we go. So... seismically, weather related, it may be an eventful June. We'll see. We're going to be fine. They've told us this is not a extinction level event, and that it will be transformational. And the way they talked about it last week was that it was a good thing. So I'm going to turn off the camera. I'm going to go get my grandma's ring, my fire opal. I forgot to wear it today, and it really helps me feel grounded. And I'll be back with the channel to see what God Source wants to say today. Okay. That was a ginormous science lesson. And I'm feeling really good about sharing this because even though I guess it could be a little bit scary, because they used the word van der Waals, which full disclosure, I was a chemistry major like, I don't know, 30 years ago. And I love chemistry. I always have loved chemistry and science. And I sort of knew what that word, I sort of remembered what that word meant, but I didn't really know what that word meant. So I looked it up and they used it correctly. And so thank you, God Source, for that confirmation. If this channeled message does nothing else than help my confidence, then I'm here for it. So sorry, but it's pretty fascinating too. So give me a minute. I had my water, or my watermelon calcite, got my blanket, got my grandma's fire opal, got my labradorite. I got all my security blankets here. Okay. All right. So when I first started recording, somebody came in the house, and I didn't realize my microphone was on because I put my fingers in my ears to keep me focused. And so anyway, I had to ask them to repeat what they said. So I said, God Source, that was beautiful. I did not capture it because I had the microphone off. Would you please start over fresh, and please do not leave out any part. Clear my mind completely so that I may again be a blank slate. There we go. Yes, child, we understand that you're dealing with a limitation today, and we tell you this is no trouble. Indeed, you do not need to be so worried about the content and the quality of the messages that you bring forward, for your intent is not to do harm and spread fear. Your internal self will find a way to present our words in a way that will be for the good of common humanity. So it feels like I might be putting my finger on the scale. I'm burping. That's the energy. I'm sorry. I might be putting my finger on the scale a little bit, but they don't seem to be troubled by it. So that's something I'll have to explore with my team. And you worry about being an open channel. And we tell you this is not entirely possible for a human. It is not entirely possible for a human to leave aside their prejudices and limited limitations of thought. And so we encourage you to show up and allow us to bring forward the message that is right for this time in this place, and the people that we know will be watching. That's you. That's you. Watching, hearing, and seeing the message, and this is for the good. So I believe that this message is going to bless you somehow, and that you're here for a reason. And now we return to the idea of a drop of water. And we asked you before to consider a single drop of water as it falls from a rain cloud to your earth. And as you have had so much in the last days. And we know this has been troublesome to you. And yes, this is a part of the greater changes that are happening on your earth that you find troubling. We've never had this much water, ever. So it makes sense that, like, in this year, I don't even know how many inches we've had, but it's astounding. And now we return to the idea of a drop of water, and we ask you When we asked you before to consider a single drop of water as it falls from a rain cloud to your earth, and as you have had so much of in the last days. Oh, whoops, I'm sorry, I already read that. Okay. And we know you find it troubling. And we have asked you and those listening to you to prepare for these changes in ways that make sense in your lives. And so if you are suddenly deluged with water, perhaps you should prepare for higher ground to go to. And this only makes sense, and it has been this way for humanity for all of time and space that they have occupied this earth. They have adjusted to whatever has happened in their atmosphere. And we have told you that this is not an extinction time. It is merely a matter of adjusting to a new way. Transformation requires change, but we do not wish to talk about transformation today. We wish to talk about the single drop of water. And we ask you to consider the drop of water from the rain as it falls to your earth under your feet. The cavernous ground under your feet is unable to hold the water. It is like a sponge sucking the water down to the earth. And here in this region, we are built on limestone caves, and our soil is not particularly absorbent. It's a lot of clay, and so it's not uncommon for a big rainstorm to come through and it to be dry in 24 hours because the water just soaks down through the limestone, through the cave structures, and out into springs, beautiful springs that we have, and then into the rivers. And they're just showing me into the rivers, into the bigger rivers, and then into the ocean. And that's really something they want to talk about. We also wanted to bring your awareness to the bee in the hive, that in the card that you called abundance. Where'd it go? Here it is, right here. That beautiful card. Yep. And how the bee is but a single bee, but the hive is its home. And also we showed you the ant from the video you watched last night in your time and place, maneuvering a block through a maze in concert with another group of ants. It's just one of these little memes that popped up on one of my feeds where a colony of ants was actually moving an eye-shaped stick, so it had like two pieces of wood and a long piece of wood through a maze. It was pretty fascinating. I think it was real. Anyway, they say so. Maneuvering a block through a maze in concert with a group of ants. They did more than a single ant can do. And now we repeat to you that which we said before, which was that the water sitting on the counter after one of your sons has washed the dishes would quickly evaporate and dissipate. In this way, its survival is limited. But what if it were a big splash? It would create a pool, so to speak. It may sit on your counter for quite a while, and in this way the existence of this single drop of water inside the pool is increased. Its ability to survive the conditions is increased by being part of a group of water molecules, which you know are made up of oxygen and hydrogen. In your vernacular you call chemistry. Your way of defining these molecules does not matter. What matters is that you understand that a single atom is less than a greater group, and that they join together and are more powerful and able to survive, just as a bee and just as the ant do in their communities. So it's likening a single drop of water joining with the pool of water to a community of water. And we draw you now to the single drop of water going down, down, down into the earth, deeply, 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 and dropping into a pool of water, a giant pool under your earth, a living thing, if not breathing, living, as each of the hydrogen atoms rotate from oxygen to oxygen, as you know, and they create a lattice, which you have called van der Waals. And this lattice of water is so strong that in some time and place, a single insect or bug may walk on the water, which you refer to as surface tension. And so I looked it up. And van der Waals forces are a term for encompassing weak interactions, including dipole forces, which would be the hydrogen, the oxygen, which means the oxygen lets go of the hydrogen so it can go pair with other oxygen, and they all just rotate around. London dispersion forces and hydrogen bonding. Van der Waals forces contribute to water's high surface tension, viscosity, and other properties. So they're really drawing attention to the life of water, like the fact that the single atom joining a water pool creates energy. And anyway, I'll go on. They talk about it more. Now you're wondering in your human why you are speaking about all these things of science and chemistry, and in the context of a water molecule, we tell you because the single drop of water needs a greater group of water in order to survive. And we are showing you now a pool of water that can carry a sound vibration, a conductor you have called it. This is important and will become more important in your future. And they showed me a picture of a dolphin underwater. Well, first they showed me like that picture of sand on a metal plate that the sound goes to, and it creates, and the sand makes a symbol. It makes that's the wrong word, God help me. The sand makes an energetic form that relates to the sound wave. It interprets the sound, that sand interprets the sound wave and becomes in resonance. And then they show me a dolphin under the water making their vocalizations and how those carry through the water. And indeed, if you've ever yelled underwater, it carries. It doesn't disappear. It carries along the water molecules. So they're wanting to draw our attention to that. And I'm sure somebody has done a wonderful PhD or something on all this, but they want us to know about this right now. Water can carry a sound vibration, a conductor you have called it. This is important and will become more important in your future. The importance of water on your planet cannot be underestimated or understated, and the importance of water in the coming days cannot be minimized and should be embraced. And we show you now how water will wear through the dry earth, and then they were showing me kind of the Grand Canyon, and create a canyon. And it does this for the same reason it does in your Ozark mountainous region with your limestone, to find its like-minded molecules. As you say, like seeks like, and that's also a rule in chemistry. Like, for example, if you've ever had if you've ever made your own salad dressing, vinegar and oil, they'll separate because like seeks like. The oil molecules, the carbon molecules will all want to be together, and the water and the hydrogen will all want to be together. Like seeks like, and birds of the feather flock together. And this is the underlying inertia, the underlying impetus, the underlying energy of water to find its own, to seek its own. Indeed, it coalesces in the sky into clouds and creates rain. And what does this have to do with your time and space? We tell you that you must respect the water. And in the places where the water lives alongside humans, for example, your coastal areas that you asked about today, due respect must be given to the energy of water. For the water does not seek to harm, but when it is joined in its massive group, as you have in your oceans, it has a power and a momentum that cannot be stopped. And they kind of show me a tsunami. I mean, they did show me a tsunami. And so for those who choose to live alongside water, due respect must be given in the coming times for changes in the tides, for changes in the waves, for massive, massive waves that are bigger than a human, bigger than a town. Indeed, we show you the town in your Europe that recently experienced a landslide, and at the base of this occurrence was water. And they're referring to, I think it's called Batten, Switzerland maybe, where a ginormous mudslide covered a town, and they had already evacuated the town. Everybody was okay because of science. But yeah, water would have been the destabilizing force underneath the melting glacier. The energetics of water were underneath that landslide. And that is profound. Who knew we were going to talk about water today? And just as the bee is singular and less able to survive outside its hive, but is a part of and has purpose in the community inside its hive, and just as the ant is unable to move the block alone, but can move many things, indeed food, across an entire forest together, the human will need to be together to address the issues of encroaching water. And this is enough for now. We do not mean to scare you, only to tell you that in those places where there is water, it will be a continuing new revelation. And yes, unstoppable, period. And then that was it. So, yeah, pretty cool. Water. I think humans are 80% water, 70% water. It's interesting, isn't it? Okay, tell me what you think in the comments. What do you think about the reading? That's all I've got. I will be with you next week. I would love it if you would share this video with your communities, if you think it would be an encouragement to them. And I love your comments. Tell me what you think about any part of this. I also want to say, if you have a current event you'd like me to read on, I'd be happy to do that for you, and with the cards. And we are going to move one of our sons into a new apartment today. And I am determined to enjoy this next week, to revel in the progress I've made on my soul lessons, to feel my community and my people at my back, to rejoice in the abundance, and to be aware of weakness and denial in our political spaces, but also in ourselves. So I hope this has encouraged you. Be safe. For goodness sakes, make sure you have some high ground if you live next to the water. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.